Hello, welcome to you all. This is the Power BI data analysis, and today we're looking at the introduction to Power BI service. And in order for us to get to the service, I'll maximize the Power BI desktop so that we can use the desktop as the launching pad for us to get to the service. And if you go to the top left under the name that's used to log into Power BI, if you click at the top, you'll see Power BI service, and if you click that will launch the Power BI service. And on the service, we have the navigation bar on the right hand side. It's open in an expanded form. If we click this, that will minimize the navigation pane, and if we click it again, it will expand on it. So we have the top, which is the home, which is what is default to the landing page, and of course at the bottom we have various assets that we have on our service. Of course, we have this as the simplified view. We can take the expanded view, which will give us more real estate of things that we see. So let's go back to the simplified, and it's just a little bit squished of it. We can filter for different assets by type, when we last open, and endorsement. Endorsement is simply a way for organization to control its data asset. It will say, well, I'll certify it for everybody to use it, I'll promote it to an asset that we know we can start using. So for now, we are not going to go too much detail into that. Next, we have the create, wherein we can go to this to see our various data sets, and we see similar information that we saw just now. And of course, we have all tab to see all what you have here, and you have the my data sets to see your data sets, and you have this workspace to see the workspaces that you have there. So let's click out of it, and then you have the browse, where you can also come here just like we saw just now. The workspace, the app, the report, you can filter by various things. You can type things here to filter down to what you specifically looking for. This will give you all the report or assets that you have favorited, and of course you have the share with me to show you all the report or asset that has been shared with you by others. And of course you have the data hub, which which has everything data. You see data set, and various information about the data set. You can click this to narrow it down to your data set or the endorsed data sets in your organization that is known for now. So that's what you see there in the data hub. And the metrics is the metrics about the usage of Power BI service itself. So for now, we're not going to go down into it. We are not going to go down into it. We need to look at many other things first. So later on, after we understand how to use the service, then we can start looking at consumption. So this is where you will have all the apps, which are reports, datasets, and dashboards that you bundle together for the consumption of those assets by your users. So if you click this link, that will take you to the reports, and of course this is what the consumers will see when they log in to the app to consume the assets. So let's go back, and we have deployments in large organizations. They create a deployment pipeline. The pipeline is simply separating consumption of assets from those that are in development, and it's mostly used in enterprise situation. That means organizations that are well using Power BI as a service, and for data manipulation, reports, and other things. So they try to control what's in production, what's already been deployed for consumption. So the next one is where you can look where to learn about things, dig into Power BI documentation, log in to the community to have access to the various communities that you can learn various stuff. So if you have questions to ask, so that's the place you can do, just like the desktop will have it. And then you have the workspace, which you have all the workspaces, and you'll see at the top here it says my workspace. If you click that, that will take you to your my workspace. And right now my workspace has nothing, no dashboard, no report, no workbook, or no data set. These are various information about the assets that you have on your workspace. Of course there is none, except what we're seeing here, the scorecard. That's nothing. So anyway, so you'll have various assets within the my workspace that you particularly want to understand, because these are the things that will help you to be able to navigate yourself in or out of the service. So you have the dashboard, you have the reports, you have workbooks, data set, and data flows. Of course, you can also access data sources from your organization, other services, that means online services, software as a services, and your files that sit on your desktop, and your databases that you can connect to, or data flows that you can consume right from the desktop. So we want to go through each and every one of the pieces here, which is the most important thing for this particular class. So let me go to the slide again, go to page 2. So we know that definition now, that Power BI service, which is also app.powerbi.com, sometimes referred to as Power BI Online. It's a software as a service and part of Power BI. So the other parts, we always try to, as we're learning now, the other parts, the desktop and the app. So the Power BI service has many objects and concepts referred to as Power BI content. Content may be accessed individually as an app or through permission. Of course, you saw when we went into the app just now. So concept and elements of Power BI. So Power BI service has the idea of workspace, which we talked about. Let's minimize this, put it to the side. Minimize this, put this to the side. So we say Power BI has the idea of workspace, which we talked about here, my workspace, and workspaces. So the Power BI service has the idea of workspace, which is a container that hosts the data sets, data flows, workbooks, reports, and dashboards. So we have that here. We can see the dashboard, the reports, workbooks, data sets, and data flows. That's what we're saying. And of course, this is the container that hosts all those things. So in order to host those things, you have to make use of storage, memory, and processor. Of course, the memory is the storage or the volatile storage where the processing will take place. And of course, you have the storage, which will normally be the disk that will hold this, but note we're talking about the cloud, so most of these things will be hosted by Microsoft, and they are collectively referred to as the capacities of your workspace. The capacity are either shared, in which case it's called workspaces, or they are reserved for just a single customer, in which case it's called my workspace. And I told you earlier on, the my workspace here, nobody else will have access to the assets that will be there. So if you want to keep things from others, or you're developing something privately, then you can come here. So let's move on. So we talked about workspace, my workspace, and workspace. Of course, we talked about app, which you can access from here, and we accessed that earlier on. We have data flows. So if you come to this, and I think I have data flow for, let's just check. I should have data flow in one of them. But don't forget, you can create the data flow right from here. It's just Power Query Online. Anyway, it doesn't matter if there is one. For anyone, it will show at the bottom here. Yeah, look at the data flow here. So because we have the first data flow, so it will show here. Of course, you will have a menu to refresh now. That means to refresh this data flow, or you can schedule a refresh. You can edit some pieces of properties within this. You can go to settings, properties. You can look at history or have a JSON file or delete that. Similarly, very close to each data set, you can do similar things and also see the lineage. Of course, you can go to the list view, which is what we have, or the lineage view, which will show you the lineage or the flow of data from source to its destination. So let's go back to the list view. Of course, you can give access to different members here. So member will be admin, controlling everything. Also the member contributor that will do some bit of admin role, and you'll have just viewers who will just view without being able to do anything. This is where you'll configure that, and of course you assign them their appropriate on a need basis. So that's it. So the next one is data sets. Of course, data sets can come from different sources or disparate. Different meaning that it can be the same kind of thing, like Excel file sitting on a folder, or it can be different types of files, PDFs, audio and the like sitting on file, or it can be databases. So disparate means different. It can be different types, but not similar type of object that you can source your data and try to amalgamate or combine them together in order for you to have a unified source of data and have a source of truth of your data. So we have data flow. I showed you the data flow, which is also Power Query Online, and you have reports. Reports are built on top of the data set, and then sorry, that's a repetition. We have the dashboard. Dashboards are built from reports, so the hierarchy will be either data set or data flow, and then we build our reports, and the reports will use to build the dashboards, and the dashboards are what we'll use to monitor the progress of what's going on, or to alert us of certain actions that we need to take. And of course, we have the workbook, which of course here is a little bit different. If when you upload your data, let's go to get data, and then if you say files, and then if you take your files from these sources where you just do a connection, then it's simply going to be let's say it's an Excel file, it's simply going to be a file that will sit under the workbook. Or if you go to this, you can take the workbook wherever it sits. But if you make a connection to the workbook and the workbook sits online, then you will see those workbooks, and it's easy for you to consume from the service. So I think this is all about it that I want you to look at, and this particular last slide will give you a summarization of things that I think I want you to be aware of. Thank you for joining me, and thank you for listening. Have a great day. Bye.